Hey there, everybody. This is Kenny. Welcome back to another edition of the Leading from the Middle podcast. This is the podcast for middle managers who want to develop themselves, develop their teams, and improve their results. Leaders, I got to ask this leader, what's missing? Where are the authentic voices in leadership today? And why is that missing from some organizations? And boy, oh boy, she is one of the authentic leaders. And so I can't wait for you to hear this conversation I had with Leadership Alignment Master Rubyni Karun. Join me today, and she's going to talk about leadership alignment and connected leadership and having that balance and really looking at the whole leader, the psychology, the spirituality, the emotional health of the leader being so important, and why there are a lot of leaders with health issues. You don't want to miss a second of this conversation. Let's get at it.
This episode is brought to you by Kitcaster. Kitcaster books you on top podcasts. How do funded startup founders attract prospects and talent? Podcast interviews. How do entrepreneurs with exits find new deals? Podcast interviews. How do C-suite execs differentiate in crowded markets? Podcast interviews. Kitcaster books you on top podcasts. Click the link in the show notes for a special offer. Celebrate good conversation.
Hey there, everybody. Welcome back to another edition of the Leading from the Middle podcast. I have a phenomenal leader with me today that is leaders, I got to tell you, lean in today, because the advice that she gives is not only career changing, but it's going to be life changing. And she lived it. And so she's living it now, and she's helping other leaders. I want to get right to her. Leadership Alignment Master Rubyni Karun has joined me today. Rubyni, it is so great to connect with you. How you doing today?
I'm doing great, Kenny. And firstly, it is so great for me to connect with you. Thank you so much for having me on this show.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I love what you talk about. I think it is so vital, so important, especially in these times. And so I want to get so much advice from you today. But the first thing I want to do is really hear your backstory, because it is amazing. And there's so many little lessons in between that's led you to doing what you're doing now. So walk us through your backstory and what led you to want to really, take on this subject of alignment, balance, and leadership alignment. Talk to us. Walk us through your backstory.
I'd love to. And a good way to explain it is I didn't come from a lot of wealth. I come from a small and humble family. And since young, I've always known how to people please, how to be empathetic, and how to take care of others first. But these traits in a corporate environment don't really have the space in order to get recognized and succeed fast. That's what we've been told. Mm-hmm. And so traits like that normally take a back seat. And what happens is the pushing, the struggling, the toxic behaviors in an effort to succeed happen. And then the comparing starts, and then the spiral starts. And it becomes a very difficult environment, not only for the employee, but also for the manager, for the organization as a whole, to get performance, for everyone to rise in a, I don't want to say warm manner, but truly in an uplifting manner where everyone's goals are met. So my backstory in that journey was truly seeing the toxicity around me, being discriminated against, not having my voice, not having everything I did come to fruition in the rewards I got in terms of salary increments, in terms of projects I got, in terms of promotions. And then it just began like a mind talk, it must be me. It must be this and that about me. You're seeing me on a screen. You know what I'm talking about.
Mm-hmm.
And so then I really had to dig deep. And then I went through my developmental journey of seeing how in all situations, a horrible boss creates a toxic environment. And so that's why I knew if I can create alignment in a boss, in a manager, that person can dial up their performance just like how I learned to, and dial up the performance of their team as well. Everybody wins. And so I saw the toxicity there. I saw the discrimination. I learned how to align through various multiple programs and techniques. And then now I help people through that alignment to dial up performance.
Well, I love all of that, and you're essentially really saying it starts with the leader and it starts with that balance, because all of those things done to you, just thank God it didn't, beat you down enough that you wasn't able to rise back up. And there's so many people out
I
there
fought.
that just don't rise back up. Let's get into that alignment balance now, and where do we start with that? I love that you talk about being aligned psychologically, spiritually, emotionally. Um, where does one start, and how does one know that that's really, really so important?
I love that question. Love that question because it's so overwhelming. We are so surrounded by darkness in every channel we open, in every media channel we look at.
Hmm.
And so where do we start? Is it only spirituality on a certain day of the week? No. Where it starts is looking within. Where it starts is finding a quiet space for 5 to 10 minutes, hand on heart, and saying in a self-aware manner, what is it that I cannot stand today?
Hmm.
Hand on heart, truly. And a lot of people start with money. But what about the money can't you stand? Is it the lack of joy? Or is it the lack of choices? Hand on heart, being self-aware of where the unhappiness stems from is the start of the journey to becoming aligned, heart, mind, and spiritually.
Yeah, I love that. And so how do I slow the world down to do that? Um, it makes so much sense to me. But what's some advice on how to slow things down so that I can get to that place? How do I even realize? Because I love that there was a part of your story that you were really driving for the promotion, for the money, and you didn't realize, why everything was off. So how do I slow the world down and get to that place where I'm taking that 5 to 10 minutes to really ask me those questions?
Your questions are beautiful. It starts with a choice.
Yes.
When we're surrounded by this turmoil and we're going and we're going and we're striving and we're striving, we're clawing and we're clawing, we're climbing and we're climbing. There comes a point where it's enough. There comes a point where the reflection inwards should be, hey, I have a choice. I've been doing this for 10 months. I spoke to a lady who's been doing this for 7 years without promotion and is still doing it and is already functionally burned out, meaning she's been taking care of a family and all that needs to be done for a year and a half, but she's dying inside.
Hmm.
That's what I call functional burnout or functional depression. But anyways, I shall not digress. And it's seeing all that and it's saying, hang on, hold up. This climb keeps happening. The results ain't coming. I've tried all I've tried to do. Hold up. Hand on heart. I have a choice to reflect inward. Let me be self-aware. What am I doing? How am I speaking? How am I asking? Am I asking? How am I providing? How am I putting forth? How am I showing? What is the value I bring? What does my boss know about me in a strategic way that allows me to shine? Right?
Wow.
You
Yeah.
get really good questions when your hand is on your heart and you say, hold up, I have a choice to reflect inwards and be self-aware of why I'm not happy, what my situation is, and what's blocking me. Right?
Yeah, I love that. There's almost no choice but to slow down. I love that. And I love the digging deeper, with yourself.
Yeah.
Um, so talk to us about, I just jotted some words down that of some things and where I watched you and listened to you and read some of your stuff. Alignment, balance, connected leadership, leadership alignment. Talk to us about that and why it is so vital for leaders to have all that.
Mm. So I created a hashtag on LinkedIn that says leaders should wear capes. Leaders should be heroes. Just like how our policemen, our firemen, our teachers, our nurses, they are heroes. Leaders should be heroes too.
Yes.
Why? 70% of our lives are at work, number one. Number two, leaders aren't actually taught how to be a leader. When you see a bad leader, have grace to the fact that person wasn't taught. Have grace, a little bit of grace.
Mm-hmm.
That person wasn't taught. That person clawed as well. Now, a lot of people are talking about it, but this is decades of blockage and stuck in the making.
Mm-hmm.
Now people are talking about leadership. I've been talking about it since 2020. Now it's becoming popular. People are listening, right? And so if every leader knows, I have this target to get to with the team, why am I being or coming from a place of being curt, of being, I don't know, snappy, of not respecting, of not articulating exactly what I want? It's because my expectations are steeped in stress. I need this and I need it now. Yeah. Hold up. Wait a minute. You have a choice. Everyone needs to reach this collectively. And as a leader, I have a choice in how I want to reach this. I can choose to nurture, collaborate, encourage, and uplift the team so that everyone feels safe to make mistakes, but safe that no one's going to get slaughtered or, basically verbally bashed into submission, but safe to rise. And then if the team rises because they've been made to feel psychologically safe, been made to feel that, hey, you need to reach your goals. And by you reaching your goals at work, you're reaching your goals personally as well, because it's all tied in together. Absolutely and ultimately, isn't it? So the leader educating the team and acknowledging within themselves, hold up, all of us need to rise together. Let me teach them 2 hours once a month, some of the skills they can use in order to excel. The leader's been there, done that, right? Should be. So with that nurturing, collaboration, and encouragement, everyone rising, the leader can then unplug from work, step back, reduce anxiety, reduce stress, create time for fun, and come from a place of alignment to grow everyone from the heart. That's what I call connected leadership, service-led leadership. And this word I'm using, self-awareness, to me, that is in sync with authentic. An authentic individual. I don't mean only for leaders, every one of us. If we come back into authenticity, that's 4,000 times more powerful than love, because we ain't faking it.
Wow. I love that. You really spelled it out fantastic. I want to stay there for a second because you talked about authenticity there. And one of the things that I heard you say was there's not enough authentic voices in leadership these days. Tell us a little bit more about that.
Sure. I'm speaking about it from a place of my experience with clients. I have clients who lead their entire companies. I have clients who lead global teams. Everyone ultimately needs to speak in boardrooms, needs to speak on stages, needs to lead, 10, 20, 30 people. However small or however large their teams are, they need to speak from a place of being, and I love this word, inspirational, motivational. So to me, if a leader is inspirational and motivational and talks about the actions that a person needs to take, then creation happens. It's like when we go and pray, we have to have inspiration, we have to have motivation, and we have to be told exactly how to do it. Consistency, don't procrastinate, don't have fear, blah, 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 blah. And then creation happens, right? So if leaders speak like this, that's perfect. And then they go and ask for help. How do I speak like this? And then they're told, well, just be authentic. And then they're just like, what does that mean? And then they're told, well, be yourself. And then they think back, and I'm asked this question. They say, well, how do I do that? I'm like, do what? How do I be myself? Can you just tell me the top 3 things and I'll do it? And through the course of these years, I realized too many of us have been told in that sandbox, don't cry, don't be yourself, don't
Yes.
have fun, don't shout, don't go wilding out, do this, do that, and do this, do that. And then after the sandbox at the age of 5 or 6, and then in school, it was just like, why are you running around? Why are you jumping on chairs? Sit down and study. And then maybe pre-university, we're told, are you mad? Are you actually having fun? Do you know the school you're trying to get into? And then you go to the university and it's like, do you see the people around you? Don't you know you have to study all the time? And then you get a job and it's like all over again. You're in the sandbox,
Yes.
right?
Wow.
And it creates so many hooks. And I don't like to use the T word, which is trauma, but I like to use the word hooks, because all these hooks bring us down. It's almost like we have shackles on our ankles, and it's just like, how do we be? How do we be as human beings? How do we be?
Yeah. Yeah.
And every time someone tells me what's wrong with me, how do I be myself? How do I be authentic? It breaks my heart. And truly, that's why I still do what I do, because I was there.
Mm.
I questioned what was wrong with me,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
It takes
Yeah.
a lot of courage to be one's self. And I hope to give as many people as possible. That's why I'm here. That's why I'm on podcast, to say your spark in your heart is exactly how you be, who you need to be, with the right tools around consistency and action to create anything you want in your reality.
No
Anything.
doubt. No
Anything.
doubt. And that is so inspirational. I'll use that word for you because it is, and I think that you laid it out so beautifully. We're taught
Thank
from
you.
such a young age that we be anything else but
No.
ourselves.
Yeah.
And then of course we get into
100%.
these leadership positions and that's what we have in our head. We feel like we have to have this facade on
Yeah.
every day.
Yeah.
You have such a heart for when leaders have health issues. And you really talk about how that's very preventative. Talk about that for a few minutes, Rubina.
So I feel like when a person is so highly stressed about the target, their adrenal glands are in overdrive, their cortisol levels are through the roof, they might not have health issues now, but they might have health issues in terms of stress, heart disease, diabetes, and the worst one is actually sleep disorders. I have leaders telling me, I wake up at 2. I'm like, what do you do? They're like, I think about my 9 a.m. tomorrow. I'm like, 9 a.m. what? My 9 a.m. meeting. What meeting is that? Oh, it's a simple meeting. I'm like, why are you getting up? It's just a habit. So people's sleep are disrupted, and that causes this slow and steady buildup to poor health. And I hope I'm answering the question right, because
You are.
all these small little snippets of poor habits ends up coming out as a 45-year-old entry into terrible health for the next 5 years of their life, which they're bleeding dry in their bank account. And that, oh, I shouldn't have done that. Well, I want more people to come into their heart so that their stress levels are lower, their anxiety is lower, they learn how to meditate and have fun in ways that they haven't done. I asked the 52-year-old client, I said, when is the last time, and this is powerful, when is the last time you had joy or you felt joy in your natural state, Kenny? Guess the answer she said.
What?
18 years old.
Oh my gosh. And 52 at the time. Wow. Wow.
So health is a big one. The pure reason why a lot of people have to stop and make a choice to do things better where it's not so hard, because health suffers. I suffered. I had stomach ulcers. I had like hair fall. I had so much fatigue. I started having hormonal, I wouldn't say an issue, but hormonal problems, side effects. Then I was just like, man, I have got to stop, check, and stop. Just stop.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow. And you're so passionate about it, but you lay it out. How quickly can some of these things happen, Rubini?
I do a journey with people, and I'm always the big sister, no matter how old my clients or how young my clients are. And I have them on an 8-week journey where we really uncover what's holding them down, the shackles on their ankles, the limiting beliefs from the sandbox, whatever, or from their first boss to say, I don't really think you can make it or do it, whatever. Removing those shackles to recreate their identity. I want to be authentic. I want to speak as an inspirational leader. I want to come from the heart, and I want my team to have high performance so I can take a step back and not have to worry all the time. I want to do these things, and that's the leader I want to be. And then I show them how to do it on the job. On the job. So I tell them how to speak to their bosses, how to speak to the teams. We create this Excel spreadsheet of strengths for their team members so they learn and they know how exactly to have a smooth rolling machine so they can step back. And that process takes 8 to 10 weeks because I'm not here to play. I'm not here to have 1-year relationships with people to try and make it work.
Yeah.
I want them to come to me ready for a change, making a choice. 8 weeks, we go hard and we make consistent changes that they then have the choice to continue on with me all along.
Wow.
Right? Because it can be done, but we're told we can't. And I have like about 200 plus clients now who've done it. It's up. I mean, again, consistency is a choice.
Yes.
But it can be done. Right?
Wow. Wow. And it's potentially life-saving. It really is.
100%.
Yeah, it's life-saving. This has been amazing. I've got just a couple of more questions for you.
Please.
I heard you say that leaders need to talk more, or I'm sorry, need to do more than talk less. That we've got a lot of talkers out there and not enough doers. Your experience, talk to us a little bit about that and how we can get a place from just flapping our gums to actually taking action on things.
I think that's a very fine line because as leaders, a lot of the times we reach a stage where it's supposed to be more strategic, right?
Yes.
But we forget that we've been in a place where we were tactical. So we forget that we have the best practices to impart with our teams on how to be tactical in the best possible ways. And so that's my meaning when I say do more. To step into the shoes of who we were before to help our team perform in the way we can. And there's no insecurity or vulnerability around it because we should want our team members to super perform so that we can step back, reduce anxiety, improve our health, gain alignment. A high-performing team is so important. So by doing more, it's just being ourselves in different shoes to impart the wisdom and knowledge, the team that we have, so that collectively everyone rises.
Yeah,
right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. That's phenomenal advice, priceless. Here's my last regular question for you, and I want to make sure we leave time for you to talk about how people can connect with you. What would be one or two really important pieces of advice that you have for leaders going into 2024?
Perfect. This is truly from my heart, Kenny. The first one is life does not have to be so hard. Make a choice to make it easier for yourself, your family, and your team collectively because it's possible. With small shifts, it's possible, but recognize, reflect, and make a choice. That's number one. Number two, the best asset you have is your team. And so stepping into connected leadership or service leadership isn't something, I used to be shamed for it. Oh, look at her being best friends. I had one of the highest performing teams. I'm just like, look at that.
Yeah.
So your team is your best asset. Learn how to connect, understand what motivates them to collectively align goals to rise together. So it's not about, let's make the company look good. Let's all look good. Let's all look good.
Yeah.
And I'm going to help you to do that so that we all rise together, because we need some light in the chaos that's around us.
No question. Wow. That's priceless advice. Wow. Wow.
Thank
Wow.
you.
I could talk to you for the next 10 hours straight. And I know you've been working all day. So what an amazing leader you are.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for all you've given today. But how can people connect more with you and get to work with you?
I would love to speak to more people via my LinkedIn profile. So just searching my name, Rubyni Karun, on my LinkedIn, you'll have my website there, and you'll have something called a breakthrough assessment. I want to help people assess and be clear on their exact blind spots and obstacles in order for them to immediately know how to shift gears to be better. And if they choose to work with me after that, sure. But immediately, I'll tell them one or two things to dial it up. Come from the heart.
That is so awesome. Yes. And there's a really great introduction video on your website that I loved, where you talk through some things. So and LinkedIn will direct them there as well. Rubyni, this has been amazing. Thank you so much for being so generous with your time and with your advice. So I hope and pray that people will listen to this and work with you and hear more from you. So thank you again.
Thank you so much, Kenny, for your brilliant questions and for you being so heart-driven in wanting me to help your audience.
Oh, well, thank you. Thank you.
I heard that.
Absolutely. Yeah. Well, folks, we're going to leave it there. This has been Kenny and Rubyni with the Leading from the Middle podcast. We'll talk to you real soon.